Han Sen thought that since he had been gone for so long, a new head of the special squad must have been appointed in his stead. After all, there were rules about that. What he did not expect was that he still had the position, and Yang Manly had taken care of all the business of the special squad. Han Sen was surprised. In this condition, Yang Manly as his deputy could have stepped up and replaced him. However, she chose to leave the position to him. After talking to other members in the special squad, Han Sen learned that the management wanted for Yang Manly to take his place, but Yang Manly refused. Han Sen was surprised about this finding. He knew that Yang Manly had always wanted to become the head of the special squad and could not imagine she would give up such a perfect opportunity. He dialed Yang Manly's number and wanted to thank her. However, Yang Manly simply told him what happened in the special squad in this year in an impersonal tone and did not give him any chance. In fact, the two of them did not have the best relationship, and Han Sen felt it was difficult for him to say something nice as well. Although Han Sen did not care that much about this position, he still needed to thank Yang Manly for helping him. "Brother, why didn't you inform me when you came back?" "Because I'm scared," said Han Sen with a smile. He had blackmailed Zhu Ruyin in the worst way possible and of course had offended the Starry group. Fu Pinking was Son of Heaven's cousin, so Han Sen was not sure if he should call her. Ares Marshall Hall had always been conducting business among different shelters, so no one would know better how to go back to Steel Armor Shelter from Green Shelter than Fu Pinking. "Haha, how did you dare to blackmail Zhu Ruyin like that since you're scared? If my cousin Son of Heaven is still in Steel Armor Shelter, I would advise you never to go back." However, he had evolved and gone to Second God's Sanctuary, and you wouldn't have any chance to see him there again. Obviously, Fu Pinking had learned what Han Sen had done on Wind End Island, and she was rather shocked. Son of Heaven became an evolver. Han Sen was dazed, but that made a lot of sense since Son of Heaven had about the same geno point count as King Xuan, and it was about time that he evolved. "Do you want to go back from Green Shelter?" asked Fu Pinking seriously. "Of course I do. Do you have any good ideas?" Han Sen did not expect Fu Pinking to bring this up first. Of course. However, it could be very costly. Fu Pinking grinned and said, "How much?" Han Sen had blackmailed a lot of mutant beast souls from Zhu Ruyin and had gained a lot of other stuff. At this point, he could afford spending some money. "If it were anyone else, I would not go through such trouble no matter how much I could earn. However, in your case, as long as you're willing to become a member of Ares Marshall Hall, I would make sure that you go back safely. Please name the price first." Han Sen frowned and said he did not want to be regulated. In addition, since seeing the super creature Golden Growler, Han Sen had a different mindset. At the time being, his goal was to hunt super creatures and gain super geno points. Becoming a part of an organization would only slow him down. "How about the sacred blood beast soul you gained from the nest?" Fu Pinking was quite flexible. "This price is too high, isn't it?" Han Sen frowned. "You know that from Green Shelter to Steel Armor Shelter, you have to go through more than 5 other shelters. The trip would be highly unsafe. I will have to dispatch our guys in each and every shelter to take you back safely. The difficulties and costs were beyond your imagination. If it were not for you, I would not even do it for 2 sacred blood beast souls. How about you give me a map, and I can travel on my own?" Han Sen pondered and suggested. "Without someone leading the way, you might easily run into troubles. Think again before you choose to do this," advised Fu Pinking. "That's fine. I just need a map," insisted Han Sen. There was no way he would give her the sacred blood beast soul. However, the map, which was not even very detailed, was a trade secret. Han Sen used 5 mutant beast souls to buy all the data and map from Fu Pinking. There was not anything about super creatures on the Skynet or the special squad insider materials. It was very likely that humans had never killed a super creature so far. Maybe some people had encountered super creatures, but since they were not able to kill one, they would never know that it was a super creature, but took for granted that it was an especially strong sacred blood creature. When Han Sen first saw the Golden Growler, he also thought it was just a strong sacred blood creature and did not realize there was a higher level. Without any data, Han Sen had to rely on himself to kill super creatures. Without any way to gain a super beast soul, Han Sen had to practice some stronger hyper geno arts. Han Sen would max out on his sacred geno points one day, which was bound to happen. However, even with all 4 types of geno points maxed out, Han Sen did not believe he could be a threat to any super creature. Han Sen found Bai Yishan's number from his comlink. As a professor and meister in the Saint Hall, Bai Yishan was a part of many research programs of hyper geno arts. There should be no one that knew hyper geno arts better than him. Hansen decided to ask for his help. "Professor, I have some questions about hyper-geno arts that I like to ask you. Do you have a minute?" "What you want to ask?" asked Bai Yishan. "I want to know, in all the hyper-geno arts that could be practiced by the unevolved, which one had the most destructive power?" Hansen asked. "Destructive power is a vague term." Bai Yishan thought about it and said, "For example, the yin-yang blast you practice could be very destructive if you use it properly. You could even use a mutant beast soul weapon to kill a sacred blood creature with that hyper-geno art. Isn't that enough? It is unfortunate that what I want to kill is much stronger sacred blood creatures," thought Hansen. Seeing the disappointment in Hansen's face, Bai Yishan touched his chin and thought for a long while before he said, "I can't say there isn't, but..." Bai Yishan paused and did not continue. Hansen, on the other hand, was overjoyed. He thought there was no hope and did not expect to get a positive answer. "You know that hyper-geno arts all came from ancient martial arts. More than 20 years ago, an incomplete version of Heresy Sutra was unearthed. Since it was incomplete, most ancient martial arts recorded in the book are no longer suitable for practice. Only an ancient martial art called Heresy Mantra was relatively complete. If you could practice this ancient martial art to a certain level, it would be easy for you to break gold with bare hands." "Is the Heresy Mantra in the S-class section of the St. Hall?" asked Hansen excitedly. Bai Yishan shook his head and said, "Although many authoritative professors had done research about the Heresy Mantra and wanted to modify it into a hyper-geno art, they had discovered its problems after many experiments. So, is the Heresy Mantra not as powerful as they thought it would be?" asked Hansen. Bai Yishan replied, "It's not that. After practicing Heresy Mantra, the volunteers did experience incredible enhancement in their physique. However, they also went through something weird." "Something weird?" Hansen looked at Bai Yishan. Bai Yishan pondered and organized his words. "So, every volunteer who tried to practice Heresy Mantra would have too good an appetite." After hearing Bai Yishan's reply, Hansen was dazed. He assumed it was some serious issue and did not expect it to be as simple as too good an appetite. Bai Yishan knew what Hansen was thinking from his look. He said seriously, "Maybe you cannot imagine what it's like to have too good an appetite. I'll put it this way, normal people would feel full, but those who practiced Heresy Mantra would lose the sense of fullness." The 6 volunteers had witnessed great improvements in their speed and strength. However, because of the unbearable hunger, they all gave up practicing. Since none of them had reached the first phase of Heresy Mantra, the enhancement of their physique disappeared with their sense of hunger. We had many volunteers who had practiced it, but none of them could get past the hunger. Nobody could persist to finish the first phase, said Bai Yishan. There are 4 phases: keeping the vital energy, seeing through the mirage, longevity, and immortality. The volunteers never even reached the first phase of keeping the vital energy. That was why Heresy Mantra was never adapted into a hyper-geno art. Hansen had been practicing the first phase of Heresy Mantra, preserving vital energy. Heresy Mantra was different from Jadeskin in that it did not enhance one's physique overall, but focused on the strength in blood. Blood came from the heart and went through the veins in the whole body. Hence, by practicing Heresy Mantra, one's heart and veins would become stronger. If the heart could be compared to an engine, then its horsepower could be improved by as much as 10 times after one practiced Heresy Mantra. If it was not done correctly, the other 3 phases would cause one's heart to explode. Hansen did not dare to slack a little bit when practicing Heresy Mantra. After several days, Hansen started to feel the sense of hunger Bai Yishan described. No matter how much he ate, he would still feel hungry, not only in his stomach, but his entire body. Among all the footnotes, Hansen had noticed an interesting hypothesis. The reason for the hunger during the practice was that Heresy Mantra needed a huge amount of energy to improve the genes that controlled the heart and veins, while the nutrition contained in food was not enough. In this case, the entire body was under a lot of pressure, and all the energy went to support those specific body parts, which was why other parts of the body had basically no energy. This theory was not corroborated. The previous volunteers were consuming most advanced nutrition solutions every day, which was still not enough to balance the hunger, which made people question the theory. This is incredible hunger. Riding on Meowth, Hansen was about to starve. He had eaten more than 10 pounds of mutant meat. If he continued to eat, his stomach would probably explode. However, in addition to the feeling of hunger, Hansen also felt energetic. The 2 contrastive feelings filled his body, which made Hansen understand why the previous volunteers would give up. It was definitely a cruel torture. As Hansen practiced more, both feelings got stronger. Hansen had hunted a lot of mutant creatures on his way and ate their meat, but it did not help. While feeling the incredible hunger, Han Sen also felt his strength was improving rapidly and even his heart was beating stronger. On the map from Huangfu Pinking, all the paths had been tested by different teams in Ares Martial Hall, so none of the paths was dangerous. Even the riskier parts of the paths were marked clearly, and solutions or tips were always provided. After Han Sen was on the road himself, he came to understand how precious the map was. Its value, like Huangfu Pinking said, was well beyond 5 mutant beast souls. With this map, one could easily start to trade among these shelters, so the map was a highly valuable trade secret. Han Sen did not know what was the reason for Huangfu Pinking to give him this map. By taking this map, he did owe her one. After half a year, Han Sen traveled past 5 shelters. He did not even want to think back on this period of time. It was not because of all the risks and dangers on the way, but mainly because the terrible feelings he had when practicing heresy mantra. Han Sen was devastated in the first 2 months when he just started practicing. In the end, he still made it and finished the first phase. Both his heart and veins were strengthened significantly. The main reason for his success was that whenever he felt the hunger was getting unbearable, he would practice Jade Skin. Then the coolness would flow in his body and ease his hunger. The hunger suddenly disappeared after he finished the first phase. However, in 3 months, Han Sen's weight dropped from 170 pounds to 110 pounds. Even his bones were sticking out. Because none of the previous volunteers had gone this far, Han Sen was not sure if his experience was unique. After finishing the first phase, Han Sen started to practice the second phase of Heresy Mantra, seeing through the mirage. Then, Han Sen felt his body was like a withered plant receiving water. After eating lots of mutant meat, he started to gain his weight back. The hunger was gone, so were the contrastive senses. In his practice, he felt more and more fulfilled. It seemed that his entire body was becoming stronger, and his current cardiac functions were much stronger than a normal person. When he completed the third phase longevity, he should be able to hurt a super creature, at least the baby golden growler. However, when Han Sen started to practice the third phase, his progress became much slower. He could still feel he was moving forward, but he could no longer complete the third phase in 3 months. Han Sen estimated that he would probably be able to finish the third phase in a year. After returning to Steel Armor Shelter, Han Sen came back to his own room immediately. He had been feeding the Cloud Beast for over a year, and it was a huge waste of time. When Han Sen went back to his room and saw the Cloud Beast, he could not believe what he saw. The Cloud Beast was there and had evolved, but it seemed somehow different from the sacred blood Cloud Beasts he used to eat. This Cloud Beast almost turned transparent and was surrounded in an aura. Why does this one look so different? Staring at the Cloud Beast, Han Sen suddenly had a thought that gave him a chill. Han Sen killed the Cloud Beast as fast as he could, and heard a voice that almost made himself jump. Super creature Cloud Beast killed. No beast soul gained. Eat its life essence to gain 0 to 10 super geno points. Meat inedible. It works like this. So it works like this. Han Sen was almost speechless. He could not believe in his wildest dream that the black crystal could be so miraculous that it could even produce a super creature. Before Han Sen could dissect the body of the Cloud Beast, it gradually dissolved. A black crystal and a white one fell on the floor. The black crystal was the one Han Sen found, and the white one was about the size of a pigeon egg, which was the life essence of the Cloud Beast. Han Sen could not believe that the seemingly ordinary black crystal could produce super creatures that the entire mankind failed to hunt. Han Sen became wild with joy as he finally had an access to super geno points, and possibly super beast souls. If he had gained a super beast soul, maybe he could kill super creatures before he finished the 4th phase of Heresy Mantra. Han Sen quickly went to the market, bought another Cloud Beast, and fed it with the black crystal. He was very curious to know how long it took for a Cloud Beast to evolve into a super creature. Life essence of super creature Cloud Beast eaten. 1 super geno point gained. Han Sen heard the continuous voice and felt on top of the world. As an incredible strength filled his body, Han Sen felt his bones and flesh were developing again, as if he were a child. In the end, the Cloud Beast provided 9 super geno points to Han Sen. Time was a scary thing, especially in such an interstellar age. Each moment, many shocking incidents happened on the planets occupied by mankind. Many strong men fell, and many new stars were born. In 2 years, too many things had happened and too many things had been forgotten. There were people who were not as forgetful, such as Jing Jia. Many people admired the Jings for the fact that they had a genius like Jing Jiwu. However, only those who truly knew the family knew Jing Jiwu had a more brilliant brother named Jing Jia. Although Jing Jia was Jing Jiwu's little brother, those who had met him could only describe him as impressive. Jing Jiwu was a monster who could reach the top in every field, and his brother was someone who could reach beyond the top. The brothers' grandfather had hired a lot of martial arts professors to instruct the two of them. Jing Jiwoo was able to listen to and learn from all the professors, while Jing Jia could not have the same professor for over 3 months. Jing Jia had so many questions and thoughts that even the professor would be rendered speechless. All his professors quit within 3 months, because they believed they had nothing that they could teach the kid. In the eyes of Jing Jia, Jing Jiwoo was his idol. Jing Jia was Jing Jiwoo's biggest fan. In his eyes, his older brother was always sparkling like diamond. However, Jing Jiwoo lost to Han Sen in the archery tournament. He believed that Jing Jiwoo only lost to Han Sen because of the tactics picked by his coach. If it had been a fair game, Jing Jia believed that Jing Jiwoo would have won for sure. At this point, Jing Jia had every desire to beat Han Sen and tell him that he was not even as good as the big toe of his old brother. Spinning arrow. What is so fancy about that? Jing Jia turned down all the invites from the Alliance Central Military Academy and other famous schools, and chose to come to Black Hawk Military Academy. Of course, the boy was not here to join Han Sen's team, but wanted to beat him and tell him he was not nearly as good as Jing Jiwoo. Jing Jia was an elegant young man. When he was enrolled, no one knew that he was the brother of Jing Jiwoo, but a lot of girls had already fallen in love with him for his looks. Soon, Jing Jia proved that he was not just a pretty boy. Wanting to compete with Han Sen, Jing Jia participated in every item that Han Sen was once in, including warframes, black and white boxing, archery, and Hand of God. Jing Jia won the championship in all these items and became the brightest star in Black Hawk. Since Han Sen was already a senior student, he no longer needed to participate in different societies, which was why he had quit the school archery team. In fact, since Han Sen came back to Black Hawk, people could barely see him. Jing Jia wanted an opportunity to beat Han Sen, but found that he could barely find the guy. Han Sen was spending a lot of time in God's sanctuary, and seldom appeared on campus. Han Sen. When the figure came closer, Jing Jia asked, "Yes, you are." Han Sen regarded Jing Jia and was sure that he did not know this boy. "My name is Jing Jia, a freshman in the archery department. I hope you could teach me a thing or two in archery when you have time," said Jing Jia with a smile. "Brother, I am so sorry, but I haven't really had much time recently." Han Sen had not heard the name Jing Jia and thought Jing Jia was one of his fans. Han Sen patted Jing Jia on the shoulder and left. Seeing Han Sen brushing past him, Jing Jia suddenly said, "Jing Jiwoo is my older brother." Han Sen stopped and turned around. He looked at Jing Jia in surprise and asked, "You are Jing Jiwoo's little brother." The reason that Han Sen was surprised was that he remembered Jing Jiwoo as a strong opponent. At the time being, Jing Jiwoo was indeed much stronger than himself. Han Sen did not expect that Jing Jiwoo's little brother would be a Black Hawk student. "Do you think we can compete in archery now?" Jing Jia asked Han Sen with a smile. He did not take Han Sen lightly but was confident that he could beat Han Sen. Without thinking, Han Sen grinned and said, "That sounds boring. Let's just forget about it. Give my best to Jing Jiwoo." Han Sen left without a second thought, leaving Jing Jia dumbstruck and a bit humiliated. Han Sen talked to him like talking to a child. Jing Jia felt like he wasn't even taken as a deserving opponent of Han Sen's. However, Han Sen did not mean to make Jing Jia feel this way. He did treat Jing Jia like a boy, because in fact, Jing Jia was 3 or 4 years younger than himself. Among the unevolved, few deserved his time. Many people who could match him such as Lin Feng and Qin Xuan had all gone to Second God's Sanctuary. At this point, Han Sen was not at all interested in people remaining in First God's Sanctuary. "I hope I can win once today." Han Sen chose a holographic device in the training hall on campus and logged in an online combat platform. The combat platform that Han Sen entered was named Gladiator. As an unofficial combat platform, it would not categorize the players based on their status like an official one would. On the Gladiator platform, players were able to choose to enter the unevolved section or the evolver section. Since it was not operated by the Alliance, personal information was unknown to the operator. Since entering Gladiator half a year ago, Han Sen had won 4 times in total. The first time, he encountered an unevolved person who clicked into the wrong section. The second time, his opponent did not finish the combat, and had to go take care of something in real life. So, Han Sen have only won twice really. As for his losses, Han Sen did not even bother to count, but the number was for sure 4-digit. At this point, his fitness index had passed 20, which was the best of the best among the unevolved. Very few of the unevolved persons could raise even one indicator above 20, let alone the overall index. It was easy to imagine how strong Han Sen was. This number was also under the condition of Han Sen not using Heresy Mantra. When Han Sen used Heresy Mantra, his strength would be even more impressive. However, although it seemed a great number of them on the unevolved, an index of 20 was too weak among evolvers. Very soon, Han Sen was matched with someone and sent to a scene mimicking the Colosseum, which was the classic themes in Gladiator. Standing at the entrance, Han Sen was able to see his opponent's profile, while waiting for the countdown. His opponent's ID was slaying all with double blades, which sounded fierce. He was a man around 30 years old, holding a pair of shamshirs. A player using double blades for sure, but Han Sen did not know if he could slay all. Han Sen thought about it, switched to the weapon interface, and picked a pair of shamshirs similar to the one his opponent used. Han Sen's goal was to learn from his opponent, so he would always choose the exact same weapon as used by his opponent. Han Sen's ID was a soldier on warship, because he would give anything to work on the warship where Jai Yanran served, even just as a soldier. However, his opponents would often think that he was really a soldier serving on a warship. Slaying all with double blades thought the same and scoffed. 4 wins and more than 1,000 losses. How dare you, a mere soldier, despise me? I will teach you a lesson soon. Slaying all with double blades was very confident in his shamshir skills. Having practiced since childhood, he was especially good with double blades. Although he had not been an evolver for long, his weapon skills were among the top among evolvers. Even in Ares Martial Hall, not many could reach the level he did with double blades. Slaying all with double blades was holding one shamshir in each hand with one facing forward and the other facing backward. This unique gesture made his technique stand out. Without saying anything, Slaying all with double blades rushed toward Han Sen as fierce as thunder. Han Sen regarded him curiously. It was the first time Han Sen had seen someone holding weapons this way. Han Sen did not understand such techniques and was still holding his shamshirs the ordinary way. But he had also learned a lot about using double blades from the skeleton, which would be as strong as any S-class blades skills. The double blades kept coming in both directions, making it impossible to defend himself. Han Sen became exhilarated. His opponent was not too much stronger than him in fitness index. Han Sen estimated the number should be around 25, higher than his, but not much higher. However, his opponent had an incredible weapon skill, which made the person the ideal opponent of Han Sen's. If his opponent was too strong in physique and had a fitness index around 30, or 40, Han Sen would lose too fast and would not be able to learn too much from him. Someone like Slaying all with double blades was perfect, a bit stronger than Han Sen in physique, but incredibly good at techniques. Han Sen became focused and fought him with what he learned from the skeleton. Although his opponent was at an advantage, he was never able to cause any fatal damage. Slaying all with double blades became more and more astonished. A soldier on warship was clearly inferior to himself in fitness index, but he had never seen such weird skills. Every blow from Han Sen and every step he took would cost his opponent lots of trouble. Slaying all with double blades felt that everything was disordered, which confused him as when to attack. Slaying all with double blades knew that he was stronger than his opponent and had better skills, but there was nothing he could do to win. Although he was at an advantage, he did not feel good. I can't continue like this, otherwise I will really lose. I can't imagine how strong people are in Gladiator. Even someone with only 4 wins and more than 1,000 losses had such awe-inspiring skills. I have to show all I have now. Feeling shocked, Han Sen's opponents did not dare to reserve anything and turned the tips of both his shamshirs backward. 13 slashes were one of the hardest techniques to learn. Very few people could actually use 13 slashes, which was one of the secret skills in Ares Martial Hall. The reason that Slaying all with double blades could learn 13 slashes was that his father worked as one of the administrator of Ares Martial Hall. As he used 13 slashes, Han Sen was suddenly under a huge crisis. The 2 shamshirs kept getting faster and weirder. After fending off 7 blows, Han Sen could not block the 8th slash. He stepped forward and dodged the slash, but the 9th attack cut his skin open. They were both in a simulated system, so there was no blood. The system notified that Han Sen's health went down by 27%. If the health went down to 0, then the player would be kicked out of the game and deemed the loser. Unless the player was beheaded or driven through the heart by weapon, the game would end when one's health was drained. If it were in real life, Han Sen would have been killed by now. Han Sen's eyes lit up and used Sparticle to avoid the next attack from his opponent. The shamshirs were like devil's fangs, dancing away in his opponent's hands, leaving one injury after another on Han Sen's body. However, his opponent did not even feel good about it. Although he had injured Han Sen, he still felt incredibly constrained. Each time he thought he was going to finish Han Sen off, he merely left a small cut on Han Sen. holding the shamshers backward. Slaying all with double blades again used the secret skill, 13 slashes. Han Sen's eyes were as calm as a deep pool, reflecting each and every move of his opponent. The first time he used 13 slashes, he managed to cut Han Sen on the 9th blow. However, this time, only the 10th slash started to leave a small cut on Han Sen, and the last 3 slashes did not work too well either. After the 13 slashes, Han Sen still had 11% of his health remaining, much more than his opponent thought. Slaying all with double blades could not understand why the second round was so much less effective. However, all he could think about at this point was to get rid of Han Sen as soon as possible. No matter what, after a third round, Han Sen would be out for sure. In the third round, Han Sen was able to block the first 11 slashes, and only 2 out of 13 slashes managed to hurt Han Sen, taking away another 5% of his health. Although Han Sen only had 5% of his health left, to his opponent's shock, none of the slashes could hurt Han Sen in the fourth round. Han Sen grinned. Panorama included all sorts of fundamental techniques. Despite that they were not advanced, they served as the basics of the more advanced skills. He had fought Slaying All with double blades for a long time, so he had already gained much understanding of how his opponent used force. After that, Han Sen was even more excited to learn the ultimate double blades skill, 13 slashes. This fight was the best one for Han Sen in the last 6 months. Most of his opponents before were much stronger than him in the fitness index. A difference of 10 points in the index was decisive at this stage. Han Sen had the luck to encounter an opponent from whom he could learn a lot. In addition, their small difference in fitness level also bought Han Sen enough time to learn 13 slashes. The key to 13 slashes was its smoothness. There was hardly any pause between one slash and the next. 13 slashes seemed to be one. Once cut by one slash, it would be impossible to avoid the following. There were also some tutorials on how to achieve smoothness between movements in Panorama, which Han Sen had practiced before. While Han Sen was learning, his opponent widened his eyes. Although Han Sen had only 5% of his health left, he could not hit Han Sen again whatsoever. He had used 13 slashes a dozen times, yet failed to harm Han Sen. 13 slashes was by no means easy to copy. He had started to lay the foundation since he was 10 years old and was only able to start practicing 13 slashes since he entered God's Sanctuary at 16. Even with many years of foundation, it still took Slaying All with double blades more than a month to learn 13 slashes. Now his opponent had only watched it a dozen times. It should have been impossible for Han Sen to imitate the skill. With 5% of health left, Han Sen could easily be eliminated with one mistake. Here it comes. Slaying All with double blades held back his anger and watched Han Sen's moves closely, ready to give him a deadly blow once he saw mistake. Unfortunately, Slaying All with double blades underestimated his opponent. Although Han Sen had never practiced 13 slashes, he had put a lot of effort in practicing the smoothness between his moves. Lacking a point of reference, he had never been able to use it well. Having watched 13 slashes, Han Sen had fully understood the essence of smoothness so that he could easily master his opponent's skill. Han Sen quickly left Gladiator after beating Huang Yulei, because he wanted to teach Zhang Denfeng 13 slashes. He had promised Zhang Denfeng that he would find the friend a nice blade skill. Zhang Denfeng would not accept an S-Class St. Hall license, and when he tried to teach Zhang Denfeng the Skeleton's Dagger's skills, Zhang Denfeng could not grasp the essence. The Skeleton's Dagger skills were demanding on the user's flexibility and understanding of order. However, Zhang Denfeng always pursued a swift and fierce style, so it was only natural that the Skeleton's skills did not fit him. 13 slashes, however, was very likely Zhang Denfeng's cup of tea. Han Sen was eager to teach it to Zhang Denfeng so that his friend could improve. Han Sen called Zhang Denfeng, who happened to be in the alliance, and showed him 13 slashes via the holographic image, which Zhang Denfeng loved. Praising the amazing skill, Zhang Denfeng asked Han Sen to teach him all about it. It was midnight when Han Sen finished teaching Zhang Denfeng. Planning to go to bed, Han Sen heard his comlink ringing. It was Young Manly's number. Han Sen answered the call and saw Young Manly's holographic image. "We have a difficult client, and no one could take care of him," Young Manly said casually. Han Sen frowned and asked, "Even you? In more than a month, I will evolve and go to Second God's Sanctuary. So, you must take care of the things from now on," said Young Manly, blinking. Young Manly was a terrible liar. Whenever she lied, she would blink. The real reason that Young Manly asked Han Sen to take care of the client was that she actually failed to do so. That will be all for now. I hope you find this story interesting. Leave a like, subscribe, and enable notifications so you won't miss the next part of this story. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.